Ryan Eisner in the mine, back at it again with another week of bracketology. That's a perfect segue, actually. Yeah, an eventful last few days, Ryan, to say the least.
Very eventful. Michigan State and Duke making headway towards being in the NCAA tournament is probably the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, and so we're just going to jump right into things. It's on that note. Give me your last four in and first four out as it looks now, and then we'll get into more in depth about Duke and Michigan State.
Yeah, so it's funny we started with that because my last four in is Michigan State, Duke, Carolina, and Seton Hall. My first four out right now, Stanford, Utah State, Richmond, and Indiana, although Richmond is currently playing against St. Louis. And if they were to lose, St. Louis would come up to first four out, and Richmond would drop to more of what I call my next four out. So a big game in the A-10 going on as we speak.
Yes, massive. And I mean, obviously just checking in on that. If the score will load, we'll give you updates.
It's 33-24 St. Louis.
Okay, well, not a great start for Richmond. Isn't that Ryan, you said you view that as more of a play-out game, right?
I view that as more of a play-out game in that the winner does not jump into the field, but the loser is going to have to win the Atlantic 10 tournament, in my opinion.
Okay. Ryan, segueing now into the bubble, and more specifically Michigan State. They had a monster week, and they beat Illinois and comfortably, and then beat Ohio State in a pretty close game last night. So I want to know, Ryan, is Sparty back? And where you say their last four in, going forward with the rest of their schedule, what do they have to do to stay in?
To stay in, I really think they have to avoid. It would behoove them to beat Maryland and Indiana. I think they maybe could afford getting swept by Michigan, although if they beat Michigan once and beat Maryland and Indiana, they're virtually a lock. Another thing I would say is that I would really advise them not to lose their first Big Ten tournament game. They need to win at least one game in the Big Ten tournament to feel safe.
Fair enough. And Joe, I think I'll leave the question on Duke to you because, Ryan, if you don't know, Joe Kane says Duke sucks. He's been saying Duke sucks since December, and he looked pretty smart for a while until that Virginia game, and he's still looking pretty smart. So, Joe, ask what you want to ask about Duke.
Okay. So, Ryan, he's right. I am psychic because I still think Duke sucks. Okay. But, I just got to ask, in regards to just like Duke and Michigan State, which of the two teams has a better tournament resume right now?
I think it's Michigan State easily.
Yeah.
Their wins over Illinois and Ohio State are far better than any win Duke has. And that's not even getting into the fact that Michigan State has a head-to-head win over Duke from earlier this season.
Very, very good point. All right, moving into this next question after the Duke tangent, which is a fair tangent to say the least. Ryan, we were talking about this today. So for the first thing I want to ask you is your dark horse Final Four team. Doesn't necessarily have to be a mid-major. I talked about Arkansas with you yesterday, and I actually really like Arkansas. I think that they're one of those could go like Auburn teams from 2019 that could either boom or bust, but I like them a lot. What do you think about your under-the-radar Final Four teams right now?
I agree with Arkansas. I think a team that's not being talked about enough is Purdue. I really like Purdue. Some of their big guys play really well. They're very well coached. Matt Painter does a terrific job there. They came very close to making the Final Four in 2019, obviously, with that great game against Virginia in the Elite Eight. No Carson Edwards, but they're so well coached, and you don't see them make stupid decisions with the basketball very much. I think Purdue could be a dangerous team to watch for, and I still think USC, if they get the right matchups, could be dangerous. And staying in the Pac-12, Oregon. I know they're going to be seated relatively lower, more in the 8-9 range, but Oregon is going to be a team you will not want to see in your draw.
Do you think that Oregon team will kind of resemble the Oregon team from 2019 that pulled that over Wisconsin?
Yeah, in a way, I think I do. I also just think they're, again, similar to Purdue. They're very well coached. Dana Altman is a very good coach, and they play really well. And Oregon's starting to get healthy. They're starting to get guys back now, and they're starting to look kind of like what we expected them to be. That's going to be a dangerous team to play in the tournament.
Awesome. And on that note, what about your Cinderella candidates right now? Obviously, we just want to say a quick rest in peace to Drake because it's not looking good after the injury to Penn.
Hold on. That's a little. That's might be premature.
You think they can still pull off a run without Penn and Hemphill? Well, Hemphill might be back.
Hemphill might come back, and I think we are underestimating the sheer resiliency of this Drake team. They are currently up 10 at Bradley, and Bradley, though their record might not show it, is a good team when healthy. So Drake is a resilient team. I still think the 6 or 7 seed they play in the first round can't take them lightly. I've spoken a lot about Belmont and Winthrop. I'm coming around on a team that I think we haven't spoken about a lot, and that is UC Santa Barbara. And I know a lot of people probably don't see them play because they play at ungodly hours of the night. In fact, they have a game, a big game actually in the Big West at 11 o'clock against UC Riverside tonight. UC Santa Barbara has not lost since around Christmas time. I always look at these mid-major teams that just go on these long runs of winning. You know, when you see a team like that, they just know how to win. Those are the teams that are really dangerous.
Fair enough. And that's a good point. We can't give up on Drake yet. Maybe some guys will get healthy and they'll be better. Ryan, going on the note of you talk about UCSB and these under-the-radar mid-major teams. What are your conference tournaments that you're tuning into the next couple weeks exclusively? Joe kind of asked you that question last week, but more in depth here, like what conferences during conference tournament week are you going to be locked in on and ready to watch?
I'm kind of intrigued by the America East Conference tournament. In particular, probably won't get too locked in on that until the championship game between UMBC and Vermont. What I assume will be between UMBC and Vermont. They've really separated themselves from the pack. I think that'll be a good one. I think the Big West Conference tournament is another mid-major tournament. UC Irvine, Riverside, and Santa Barbara make for a very fun tournament there. And then I always watch the Missouri Valley Conference tournament every year. Something crazy is going to happen in Arch Madness every year. I would not rule out the possibility of Missouri State making a run in that tournament and opening a possibility of a 3-bid Valley, stealing a bid there. And I've spoken about Nevada stealing a bid out of the Mountain West. That's another conference tournament to keep an eye on as we start postseason play.
On the Mountain West real quick, I want to ask you about Boise State. Obviously, lost last night to San Diego State. They've been hovering around the bubble recently, but kind of in. Where are they looking right now?
I think they're safely in. I think things would get dicey if they were to lose their first Mountain West Conference tournament game, but I think they could lose to San Diego State tomorrow also and still be fairly safe.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think things would get dicey unless they had a really embarrassing loss in the Mountain West Conference tournament. They appear to be on the right side and for now. And what's helping them is you have teams like Seton Hall and Xavier that are just continuing to take bad loss after bad loss, and it's actually giving Boise a little cushion.
Yeah, good points there, Ryan. And another thing we want to ask you, what teams – so we're looking at a lot of these teams that are surging now, but what teams you have either mid-majors or otherwise or Power Fives where you're looking at them and you say they have a big chance to surge over these next coming weeks. Their schedule's favorable. They can make a run in the conference tournament despite what we see now.
Michigan State. I'm going to go with Michigan State. Months of the year go January, ISO 1, ISO 2, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. This is the point every single year. And they've beaten Illinois and Ohio State in the last couple of weeks. They get Maryland and Indiana. They get Michigan twice to close the season. I think they can take one of those games. I think they could win one of those games with the way they're playing of late. And you're telling me, and what 2 seed would actually want to look and see Michigan State as the 10 in their field or 3-11? Nobody.
Valid point, especially with the way they're playing. Aaron Henry's looked great. He was posting up Liddell a bit last night.
He was.
Liddell was oddly a little off last night.
Well, yeah, this goes back to the thing I've been kind of saying for a little while now, that Ohio State's the one seed I'm most worried about not making it out of the first weekend.
Yeah, and defensively, they definitely have their issues. You throw a competent offensive team at them with decent defending abilities, or just a big.
Like, I mentioned Oregon earlier. Oregon would be, I think, a brutal matchup for Ohio State.
Yeah, you throw a team with size at Ohio State, size and defensive competence, they'll have problems.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. Next question here: which teams do you see potentially plummeting? And then we have a couple more after that.
Plummeting. I look at Virginia, a team that is one of the most incompetent offensive teams I've seen in some time. It's not really the shooting; it's they can't even get the shooters the ball. Is the difficult part there, and it's also that the shooting is good in spurts, but then it's 10-minute spurts where it's not good. So, they took a bad loss to NC State recently, and they've plummeted down to, for me, a projected 6 seed. And if they were to, God forbid, lose to Miami, the 8-9 game could be staring them straight in the face.
Yeah, Virginia was a 3 seed a couple weeks ago, and they've just let it fully slip. Ryan, I know that brings you some pain to talk about Virginia.
To be honest, Virginia was probably always a little bit high. I mean, if you take their resume and put NC State uniforms on this team, I don't think they're I don't think they're ranked right now. I don't think they're projected that high. They have some good wins over Georgia Tech and what have you, and Clemson, but no great wins. And losses to San Francisco and NC State. That's more like a 6-7 seed kind of resume to me.
That's fair. That's fair. And speaking of seeding now, we're moving a little up from 6-7 to your 2 lines looking like your top 2 lines. And then how much do the losses affect Illinois and Ohio State?
My top 2 lines are pretty much the same as I had them last week, except I now have West Virginia up as a 2, and I bumped Iowa down to a 3.
Okay.
The Ohio State and Illinois. Illinois is still a 2 in my opinion. They have a good enough resume. Ohio State stays at a 1 again for a similar reason, but Villanova is right on Ohio State's heels, and if another loss for Ohio State could bring a compelling case to make Villanova a 1.
Yeah, and that was the question I was going to ask next, actually. What would it take? What is it going to take for Villanova to pass Ohio State here? You think Ohio State has to lose one more time at least, and then
at least one more time? At least one.
Okay. And Villanova probably has to run it from here.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Ryan.
Okay. Well,
hand it over to Joe.
Ryan, I got to ask, and I don't know why people don't ask this they don't ask this anymore since 2018. But in 2018, the infamous UMBC upset happened. My question is, if one, number 1 or 2 seed got upset, which one do you think has the most likely chance, just for the people doing bracket challenges,
Yeah.
if they had a
I would go with Ohio State. Because their defense, I think, is bad enough where if a 16 seed gets hot, they could be in some trouble. They just look disinterested on defense at times, and that could pose a problem. Especially speaking of UMBC, they might actually be a 16 seed again.
Deja vu.
I know. Deja vu potentially.
I actually have an answer to this question as well. And I kind of, after their win last week, I kind of got to say Gonzaga. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a first.
I actually agree with you.
With the way they played against Santa Clara, possibly.
I think if Gonzaga decides that they're going to just, treat the 16 seed the way they do Santa Clara in the regular season, you need to understand there's a difference between March Madness and the regular season.
Fair.
Things Gonzaga's gotten away with in the regular season, like Virginia, with the way they played against UMBC, they kind of played like that at times that regular season and got away with it. But you're not going to get away with it in March because teams are going to start shooting better. They're going to start making almost inhuman plays that they wouldn't otherwise make. And And also in March, everybody knows the longer you let a 16 or a 15 seed hang around, the more dangerous things get for the favorite. And Gonzaga has let some teams hang around for a long time.
Mine's Villanova.
Yeah,
I agree.
like a lot of these teams, I mean, Gonzaga just doesn't finish in the first half like they should. I mean,
Gonzaga. I think the biggest problem with Gonzaga is they don't look interested at times. And I worry that, like, if they can't look interested for Santa Clara, are they going to really look interested for Prairie View A&M?
They got to get up and get ready to play them, man.
Yeah,
I said Nova just because their shooting is spotty and their defense has been off and on as well. I think you throw a good shooting team at them, they'll have huge issues.
Yeah, and a good shooting team that I've seen thrown at them a lot in projections is Grand Canyon.
That would not be pretty. That wouldn't be pretty. Yeah. All right. So before you go, Ryan, we're gonna announce something real quick. The Goldmine tries to do a bracket challenge every year. So assuming this, Joe and I are gonna talk specifics after the show, but we're gonna get that going very shortly. Anyone can enter, and we're gonna we'll set the password, we'll announce it and everything on the upcoming show. But for those of you that want to compete with myself, Joe, Ryan, and many of the other Goldmine fans out there, we're going to be doing that. Also, on Selection Sunday, we have Ryan coming on every week, but on Selection Sunday, we're going to have a special Selection Sunday live reaction special with Ryan and everyone. We're going to see what we think about the committee. We're going to talk about it live on air.
Should be fun.
Oh, wow.
It is, by the way, Selection Sunday is 2 weeks from this Sunday.
I know, man.
It's coming.
Crazy.
It is coming.
Right around the corner. All right, Joe, anything else you want to ask Ryan?
No. I mean, getting someone else to agree with me about Gonzaga, potentially being a first-round exit, just because of the way they play.
If Gonzaga is a first-round exit, I don't want to hear anything else about that program for, like, the next 20 years.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Ryan, those are all the questions we have for you today. Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
Just keep an eye on some of these bubble games this weekend. Indiana's got their last stand against Michigan, Georgia Tech and Syracuse battling. Other than that, Monday starts the greatest month of the year.
There we go. March is right around the corner, and it's going to be that much sweeter when we get the NCAA tournament again. Ryan, thank you for joining us on the Goldmine. Have a good night, man.
Thank you. You too.
Hey, y'all. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you want to see our last video, click here. If you want to see our next video, click here. And if you want to subscribe, click on my face.